Hi, everybody. We're here on May the 7th again, and I'm here with Matt. He has a podcast called Frequent Seas, and it's a relatively new podcast. However, he's been pretty committed to it, and it has a professional standing already, I feel.
Thank you.
So how are you today, Matt?
Doing good. How are you, Lindsay?
I'm good. I'm good. So we're two fellow podcasters here, having some conversation back and forth.
Yeah.
We just started a conversation on consciousness, and I said, well, let me press record because this is kind of what we want to talk about. Matt mentioned that he had seen some content that I made talking about virtual theory, which emulates simulation theory, just with the different perspective. So what do you have to say about that, or what's your perspective on that, as you were saying before?
Well, I think it's a fun place to start is just asking the question, what is consciousness? Um, and I have a fun little metaphor that kind of describes it, and it works. I mean, I don't necessarily like saying we're in a simulation like you use the word virtual.
Right.
Just because a lot of people are going to just stop listening and discredit it as soon as they hear it. So, um, my I use a metaphor of, like, imagine an artist in a studio. You've got a painter in his studio, and he's at his easel with the canvas on it and his paints all around, and you know that painter is painting a painting, right? And it's an if imagine and in this metaphor, that entire scenario, that entire situation, the painter, all of that stuff is consciousness, and it's painting our reality. He's painting our reality. Our artist is painting our reality. And where we're at in this metaphor, our brains, us, what we see is really the canvas, the art on the painting. Like, I like to use, have you ever seen the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams?
I knew you were going to say that. I was just thinking of that movie.
I
It,
love that
it's
movie.
it's funny you mentioned that movie because I just had that movie in my mind the other day. I
Really?
was just thinking about that movie. I'm trying to place why I saw an image. I saw an image and it made me think that that image came from that movie. I think
It's one of my
it was
favorite
like,
movies.
yeah, it was a great movie. Robin Williams was great. He was
Yeah.
great. He was great.
Incredibly sad, but also just back in its time, it was visually, like, just out of this world.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It was. I'm sorry.
but
Sorry
no,
to
it's
interrupt you,
okay.
but go
I
ahead.
could
Go
I
ahead.
could talk about that movie all day. But that painting world that he's in, his heaven, that is our reality in a sense. It's ever
Yeah,
changing
yeah.
as the painter, our consciousness is painting the entire, what we see, what we feel, using the if you consider, like, all of the different paints and the lighting, all of those are the different experiences that are contributing to what we see.
Right.
I think it's a fun way to kind of explain what consciousness is, and I mean, it works the same way as the simulation theory or virtual theory, and, yeah, I think that's a fun way to explain it to people who haven't really even thought about the question, because there's so many people who haven't.
Well, I think the painting also, what the painting looks like changes based on the perspective of the person.
Absolutely.
So if you could imagine all of these different, like, if you could imagine somebody has a bubble around them and it's painted in their painting, what their painting looks like, that's how they view the world and their
Absolutely.
reality. So you have somebody next to them who has a completely different painting. However, they see the world through that painting. So that's how, like, two people can see things completely different. They can
Absolutely.
see the same thing completely different. And it's like overlapping realities. Everybody has like an overlapping reality. And, and yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
I think it's just a fun way to talk about that world, just because there's so many people who don't necessarily think about it as, they think us walking here is just the way it is. That's who we are. We're just our brains are driving the ship. And when you think about consciousness and how it works, we're more or less tuning into something else. Our brains are almost antennas kind of tuning into a frequency, if you will. which is coming from our consciousness. I think it's a fun way to think about it.
Yeah. What is your definition of consciousness? What do you think consciousness is?
Like I said, I think it is something. Our consciousness is driving the ship. We're kind of tuning into our own, like, it's kind of hard to explain. The metaphor is kind of meant to explain that, meaning, like,
I'm just trying to get a bearing on what you consider consciousness to be, so that we can. So
it's what's driving. I think our brains are tuning into our consciousness, our greater self, if you will.
okay, our
And
greater self. So, like, would you say it's like an energy? It's a type of
yeah,
energy. The consciousness is
absolutely.
a type of energy.
Sure. Yes. I think it's
Okay.
an energy field of some kind. What it is, I'm not 100% sure, but I think we're tuning into it. I don't think what we see is exactly how the world works. It's a matter of, like you said, our experiences and everything painting the picture we see and what we touch and how we feel it. So our consciousness is more or less driving the ship here. Our bodies are using the tuning in from our brain, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, when you say our brain tuning in, what you're actually saying, I can give you a little bit of my knowledge here about what I
Yeah,
know about this, is it's actually the ego or the pineal gland, because the ego exists inside the pineal gland. So the ego is what grabs onto the consciousness energy. I'm actually kind of convinced that consciousness is actually what happens when the ego and the soul energy meet. Like, it creates consciousness. I think before that, it's just a type of electricity that is tapped into, like, the infinite consciousness.
I love
But
that.
the consciousness, because your consciousness develops, like, the longer that you're, like, untraumatized, the longer that you have, like, a steady life, your consciousness will develop and get stronger. So
So you believe when we die, we don't necessarily die. We kind of recycle
oh,
into,
when we die, we just get to try that life again. I
yeah,
feel like if you're living this life already, if you're living this life now, that just means that you have failed whatever task you had to complete or whatever challenge you were given in this life, however many times before you've lived this life. Like, I feel like if you're living a life, it's because you've failed at living this life in the past. So you're going to repeat this life until you pass whatever challenges you have, and hit the check
absolutely.
marks and hit the checkpoints.
Yeah,
So I feel like when you die, depending on your belief systems, that's what happens to your energy afterwards. And if you believe that you're going to be stuck in this cycle driven environment, like heaven and hell, it's cycle driven, then that's exactly what's going to happen to you.
hmm
um
yeah, your theory sounds a lot like Thomas Campbell's, and Robert Monroe. Do you know a lot about Robert
oh, the
Monroe?
Monroe Institute.
Yeah,
Yeah, I steer clear of, like, institutes.
yeah, 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 yeah. I I'm
uh,
I've just kind of Robert Monroe's story is pretty fantastic. It's pretty amazing, and because you're kind of touching a lot of stuff that he touches on. But the big toe theory from Thomas Campbell was part of that team in the early days, and his theory is the simulation theory. Is he uses the metaphor of using of World of Warcraft. I mean, he goes full on video game metaphor
I
where
kind of feel like
there's a
that's what it is here.
yeah,
I feel
it's
like our environment is brutal. It's nasty. Like this is a shitty life. Life as a human, like, we're vulnerable. Like, somebody could come into my house and hurt me right now. Like like, there are other versions of, like, existence that aren't this way. And it's not an animal either. This is, like, outside of human perception. Like,
yeah,
I feel like there are other worlds like ours to where consciousness can go into and exist in a completely different laws. Like, in
hmm
this other world, like, you won't have to eat, like, you'll just sustain off the energy of the world. Like, the laws are different, you know what I mean? And
right,
there aren't necessarily humans.
yeah,
So like, Yeah, so that's kind of what I think. I don't know.
No, I like it. It's in the
It's kind of
same wheel.
whimsical. It's
It
kind of
is,
like a
absolutely.
whimsical, like to think that there's other worlds. Like, and I feel like Narnia and like all of these movies that they come out with, whoever made these movies know about these other worlds, and these movies that they make are actually about these other worlds. Or
Yeah.
Narnia actually is kind of like here, because like, do you realize that like if you have an animal, that the animal that you have is most likely a different version of your soul, and that
Yeah, I believe
it
that.
harnesses your energy as your animal. It holds your energy. That's like when people's favorite animal passes away, that they don't feel the same afterwards, because literally they lose a part of their energy.
I believe it.
And that's what Narnia, all the animals were it's their soul. That's what the animal was their soul. So quite literally, it's the same here on Earth as it was in Narnia in that regard.
Yeah, I love that.
It is, and they're still, and energetically, they're still after the souls of us and our kid children and our animals. Like they're still after the souls, because in that movie they were trying to separate the soul from the kid, the child. That was like the point. Yeah, and they're still trying to do like that's like a direct reflection of what's happening here. I've actually talked about this in my podcast before.
Really?
About this, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's actually. Because I can talk to animals like telepathically. So I have another TikTok channel. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's God.
Yeah, I see a lot of your content on TikTok. That's where I first saw you.
Yeah, well, I have another account called God Cats, and I talk
Okay.
about cats.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can talk to my cats telepathically, and they share a
I
lot
believe
with
it.
me.
I believe it.
So, and I'll never forget the one time my one cat told me that my other cat was my shadow cat. Like she told me she was my shadow cat. I can't explain to you the weight of what the implications of that were following.
Really?
Like, yeah,
Like
yeah,
scary, like dark, or
heavy,
yeah, okay.
heavy, and
I believe it.
dense. Like I've had to process what the implications of her being my shadow cat are. But so I talk to my animals, and I know things because my cats tell me things.
That's
Um,
that's cool. So my entryway into learning about consciousness, funny enough, was the telepathy tapes.
okay, okay.
And just kind of, I won't get into it exactly how, but the telepathy tapes kind of I was just opened my eyes to a whole bunch of different things. And I don't know if you've heard the episodes about the people that talk to animals, and I not surprised at all.
Yeah,
I,
I watch all of the animal communicators on TikTok, like Lori Cohen. I always watch her.
really,
Yeah, yeah. My cats have actually been pushing me to become an animal communicator, like on a regular basis.
I believe it.
So I actually think I'm going to go in that direction. But you know, yeah. We were talking about consciousness. Are we done with that? Are we done
Well,
with that topic?
I guess not necessarily. I think, you said about Narnia, somebody came up with that concept, and
Right.
there's one of my favorite episodes of the telepathy tapes is where Rick Rubin comes on and talks about the kind of humans tuning into this consciousness field, this thing that we're all in, and ideas kind of, because ideas kind of handpick people. And I'm a musician as well, and like if you've heard of like Paul Simon and a ton of artists have talked about like how a song idea comes to them, and then it writes itself. These songs that just write themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Ton of these stories over history, and I think that element kind of I related to a good amount, just because I've had a handful of songs, 5, 10 songs that pretty much wrote themselves. I mean, when I was writing them, I wrote them in just less than a day. Just I was just following the pen. And when I was playing the guitar, like my hands would just go to the next chord that I wanted to hear. You know what I mean? And when something like that happens, dare I say magical, but like I feel like that has something to do, that's in the same realm of tuning into this consciousness field.
Well, I could explain that to you and how and what happens actually.
Okay.
Um, so you desire something,
Mhm.
so you think about it, and your thoughts pull in the frequency of whatever it is you desire. Hold on, I'm trying to gather this. I just lost where I was at with that. Oh yes. So your thoughts pull in whatever frequency of action it is you desire to do. So frequency is energy. So you now have that energy in your body. This energy comes with like messages and like data with it. Instructions. Energy comes with instructions. So now you have this desire and you want to do this. So you pull this thought and this frequency and this energy into your body. And this energy has instructions to make your body move in the way to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So you could actually just close your eyes and connect with this energy and let the energy move your body in the way that you need to move it.
I believe
this would be like considered flow state.
Absolutely.
Like cats, I know I watch cat behavior, and I know my cats work this way. Like, cats come here with a task, some kind of like goal to achieve, and so they let the energy in their body move them and do whatever they needed to do to achieve that task. They set their intention, so the energy in their body locks into that frequency, and then all of their actions there on out are based on the movement to achieve whatever goal it is they want to achieve. So that's how cats operate. That's how I know how to like tap into that energy.
I think we all can, is when we're not stressed out about all of the shit we got going on in our daily lives. I think we all potentially can.
That's huge.
I know.
The burden and the densities. It's dense energy that sits on you like a burden.
And the rules that come into place from the time we start learning, you've got to do this, you've got to go to school, you've got to get a loan for a car, you've got to get a job to pay off the loan for the car, to the whole system. So all of that stress, then you've got to focus on that. So once you lose focus on what you really want to do, your passions, the things you really want to do, you're distracted, completely distracted, and it's harder to achieve that flow state. You call it flow state. I think it's a perfect name for it, but that's big. You're exactly right. I believe you 100%.
It's more likely a neurodivergent people could reach flow state because
I believe it.
They're more in tune with their nervous system, and the energy moving you is in your nervous system.
I'm ADHD, and I'm pretty sure I'm got some autism in there. I don't have that I didn't get that diagnosis, but I'm ADHD. So yeah. And all of this, I didn't realize till after I got sober. So got sober in 2019, and I called it my new brain because things totally started. I was masking with weed and alcohol for, from going back to my teenage years every day, pretty much. Got sober and things opened up. Things really started to, I called it my new brain. It's been quite an awakening since then.
Yeah, you do. That's kind of like exactly what happens to you. I kind of think that in some cases people become neurodivergent because of the alcohol or drug use.
Very possible.
That it's something that can send you into a neurodivergent energetic state. Because, like, have you ever seen the video I made talking about what it means to be neurodivergent, or what the difference between a neurodivergent and a neurotypical person is?
I don't know if I've seen that one. I've seen a lot of your content. Maybe explain.
I'm going to explain to you now. Yeah, it's gotten like 1 million views or something. So my understanding of somebody remember I explained to you consciousness. So somebody who's neurodivergent, their thinking is different. Thinking is consciousness. So I explained to you consciousness is the soul and the ego coming together. So in somebody who's neurodivergent, you would think that this would happen in a different way. Something would happen differently with the ego and the soul. So I realized that in neurodivergent people, we also have the conscious awareness and the subconscious. So the ego is one of those, and the soul is one of those, the subconscious and the conscious awareness. So In a neurodivergent individual, I realized that the ego is the subconscious, and that's the voice you hear in your mind. You hear your ego, but the conscious awareness is the soul. So neurodivergent people walk around as their soul with their ego in the background.
I did see this video, but I love it.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
going.
But so neurotypical people are the other way. So their subconscious is their soul, and their conscious awareness is their ego. So they exist as their ego's energy, where neurotypical people exist as the soul's energy. And this is why there's such a difference in behaviors and characteristics to personalities and attributes to each group.
I was wanting to talk about ego. You talk about ego a lot, and
Yeah, it's so huge.
this one kind of this finally kind of hit me on this explanation here, but the way I explained, I kind of understood ego. I saw a different video where it was an explanation about how neurodivergent people neurodivergent people communicate, and how neurotypical people communicate um, with their ego. So this explanation was saying, like, neurotypicals, their ego is kind of a shell around them, if you will. They used a drawing. It was excellent little video, but it's part of them. And with neurodivergent people, um, neurodivergent people are typically more authentic. They're more stereotypical, but I'd say a little bit more genuine, a little bit more authentic, and almost like they don't necessarily have an ego. We kind of more function with a mask. And when say if the neurotypical is talking to another neurotypical, they've got their core being, their core self, and they've got their ego, which is that outer shell that they filter everything they say through, and it kind of, they portray how they want to be perceived through their ego, and it's also received by the neurotypical's ego, whoever they're talking to, because they'll receive it through their ego, filter it, and that's how the small talk chit chat kind of gets confused to neurodivergent people. How's your day? A lot of neurodivergent people will, well, it fucking sucked, and they go on and on and on. When neurotypicals typically ask, it's how's your day? You're supposed to just say, pretty good. How's your day? It's just a hello.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when neurodivergent people kind of take in that communication, it's harder for us to we don't really run it through a filter. We take it as is, and we take a lot of things a lot more, we take it for as it is, not necessarily run it through a filter, which is why I get confused all the time when people sarcasm kind of I miss sarcasm sometimes, unless I know who I'm talking to. But I felt like, and it seems like it kind of works with your theory as well. But I thought it was the ego is pretty fascinating once you really start diving into how it works with us. What you say, our soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the ego is the physical representation of us. It's our pineal gland is where our ego is. I'm not sure if the pineal gland is the ego, but that's where it exists. And the ego, I can only speak for a neurodivergent individual on how the ego is, because that's how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine for neurotypical people. But the ego, when you're healed, somebody who's healed with little trauma and densities on them, the ego becomes like, perfect intuition. Like, you can ask the voice in your mind, which is your ego, is this place open right now? And your ego will come back with an answer, yes or no, and will be perfect. Yes, will be the right answer every single time for your ego. Your ego will turn into the most creative version of yourself that you've ever been. It will have the most creative images, or if you want to paint, it'll be the best painter. If you want to be an athlete, your throw will always be perfect. Somebody who a healed neurodivergent individual, this is how it is for them. And it's the ego that develops and seems to get stronger and seems to get more robust over time. This is like, yeah, like with the more nurturing and the more input, this is what happens for a healed neurodivergent individual. And the ego, like, people think of the ego in such a negative way. Well, somebody who's healed, who has has mostly positive thoughts, their ego is going to be a version of what you consider the ego to be.
Right.
And it becomes like, you can talk to, and I don't like to use the word train, but train your ego. You can work with your ego. Like, I remember like 6 to 7 years ago when I first discovered my ego could talk back to me, I had to well, first of all, it wasn't me. I've had like so many different souls since then. So like, I'm talking about this as it was me, but it doesn't feel like it was me.
So it's pretty fascinating that you can talk to, I don't necessarily, an entity. You say your ego, and it's responding. It's not you responding to yourself, right?
It's the other half of me, but it's a different energy.
I've got to try it, because when I'm in my head, I'm in my head a lot. I'm an overthinker. I'm big time. And I do a lot of kind of conversation forecasting, but not necessarily putting a question into the unknown and hoping that, I don't have that, but I'm going to try. I struggle with meditation.
Try it.
Meditation's really tough for me. Reading is really tough for me. Just maintaining focus is really difficult. So, but I assume, do you meditate?
I don't meditate. I meditate just with the things that I do. Like, I meditate while I'm doing the dishes, or I meditate while I'm vacuuming, like I meditate while I'm designing,
when I'm hyper focused in my task.
Right.
And so, when I'm in that flow state, I'm in the zone, and it's Zen. But
right.
My brain is also turning. I really have a difficult time clearing it, not thinking of anything, which is, I wish I could. And I have tried using binaural beats and a whole bunch of different things. And I still do try on occasion, but very, very interesting stuff. The brain, this world of knowledge that I find myself learning new insights and theories every day.
Right. And you mentioned the ego as like an entity, and I have to actually tell you that for neurodivergent individuals that have the ability to talk to entities, because there are some people who can talk to entities, they're actually using their ego as a translator. Their ego is the translator. So they're actually hearing their ego, but their ego is connected to a different frequency and taking different information. So it's the same energy that you're actually talking to with an entity and your ego. And a lot of people get frightened by the thought that, I'm talking to this other entity in my mind. Well, it's not actually in your mind. It's just your ego connecting to that frequency outside of you somewhere. Like it's not, they're not in your head. They're not with you at all. They can connect with you from like across the earth world, or even other worlds, like energies that don't exist can connect with you that way. So it's actually, yourself that's translating the information coming in, and you can say, I don't give consent, and it will turn off. You have to mean it when you say it, but
hell, I may be receiving them and just accepting them as ideas and thoughts. You know what I mean? I'm not 100% sure.
Well, no, I'm convinced any ideas or thoughts that you have will be your own.
Okay.
Unless you're asking for a certain entity for images or help with something, it's going to be your own.
Do you have you ever heard of aphantasia? The lack of ability to, like, when you close your eyes, do you see black? Or do you see images? Do you see?
Oh, I can see images. I see images all the time.
Mine's black. I see it's, I have the thought, when I close my eyes, I can think of an apple and I can kind of imagine an apple, but it's complete black, which I think is a lot of, I didn't realize, I thought everybody just had that. You know, when they say close your eyes and imagine sheep jumping over a cloud, I would imagine sheep jumping over clouds, but it's still just darkness. I wouldn't necessarily see them. You know what I mean? I thought that
Have
was
you
pretty.
have you intentionally ever tried to build the image? Because when I first started to learn to see images, I would build the image. Like I would start like how a 3D printer starts from the base up, and I would build the image
I will
slowly.
try. I don't think so because it's darkness. It's, I mean, I can imagine it.
You have to believe that you can do it first.
Well, I mean, this has been my entire life. But
Above all else, you
Okay.
have to believe that you can do it.
Okay,
If you don't believe you can do it, you're never going to be able to do it.
true.
I mean, if it's something that you and you have to have a desire to do it, it has to be like a soul's desire, like that you want to do it and that you believe
For
that
sure.
you can do it for it to actually happen.
You know, I said I struggle reading. I've struggled with reading my entire life. I can read perfectly fine. It's more of a comprehension issue. And I feel like it is related to that because, you know, when people read, they can build an image in their head. And, you know, it's easier once you get sucked in as you're reading, you kind of, I assume that that's how it works. I've struggled. I'll say when it was around the Harry Potter book, like 4 or 5, the movies were coming out. And when I read, I think it was, forgot which one it was, but I read one of those big books. I was so proud. I read one of them just because I made it all the way through. I couldn't put it down. And I think a big part of it was because the movies were already out. It kind of built the image for me, which made it easier for me to kind of imagine the characters. And, you know, all these characters had had images. So aphantasia is, I feel like, a pretty interesting little, I call it a condition. I don't really know if it's a condition, but I think it attributed to that.
Huh. I'm sorry. I just I was on something else. I had a thought.
It's all good.
And,
all good. Just like kind of opposite of aphantasia and kind of lack of ability to visualize things. There's people that don't have
right,
an
reading.
inner monologue.
Yes.
Well, there's people that. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have something to say about the reading.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I used to not be able to read. I couldn't comprehend at all. I've read one novel in my, like, voluntarily one novel in my lifetime. I went to college. I have a college degree, so I read lots in college. But when I went to college is when I forced myself to learn how to read. I had a philosophy course, and we had to read this like old school philosophy literature.
I couldn't do it. Go ahead.
I'm telling you, I went from what you're saying right now. I went from saying I can't do this to being able to read anything after I got out of that course. I would sit down and I would read the same sentence until I fully understood what it meant. I would think about it in every single way possible until I fully understood what it meant. It did take me forever. It did take me forever. But the energy and the focus that I contributed to the efforts of doing it is what eventually let me read, because the more effort and the more energy you give it, the more it will return to you. So now I can read literally anything.
Well, it's as I read, you know, I'm reading and I'm interested. I've tried reading The Hobbit 20 times. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I love Lord of the Rings. Reading it is really difficult. As I'm reading, you know, and I'm reading, but then I start kind of analyzing what I just read as I continue reading, and it just goes on. And before you know it, I read 3 pages and none of it has really comprehended. You know, I've 25% of what I just read in the last 3 pages really didn't grasp because, you know, I'm focused on, I'm reading the words. I'm reading them, but it's so hard to explain. And I've struggled with this my entire life. It's, but I still try. I do try. And if it's a book that it's got to be a book that has me just hook, line, and sinker, has all my interest, and just takes a lot. And I can't be in a room with anybody talking, TV on, music. It's gotta be quiet, you know?
Yeah. Again, I will go back to the mindset that you have to believe that you can do it.
Have to believe I can do it. Okay.
Absolutely. Like the people that believe in themselves are the people that get it done.
For sure.
That's 100%
You're
true.
100, you're right.
It's if you want to be, if it's something you want to do, again, the desire has to be there.
You're right.
So yeah, so that's up to you, I guess. But that's how I learned to read. And I can tell you that the confidence that I carry now when I walk up to a situation and there's reading involved, I'm confident. Like I'm the first one to read it now. And also reading children's books.
Oh, I'm great at reading children's books. I'm excellent.
Yeah, really? So
Oh,
you can read
absolutely.
children. Do you know
Well,
what you read? Is it the pictures that helps
no,
you?
no. I can read perfectly fine. It's the full novels, 100, 200, 300 pages is where, I mean, I when I read children's books, I've got 2 kids, and when they were little, I give the characters voices. My kids loved it when I read to them. So, um, I love it's not necessarily, um the short books are fine, specifically stuff with the kids where I'm getting interaction with. I couldn't put it, they wanted me to read books over and over again. It's
Okay.
fantastic.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I
It's
don't know.
I'll keep
I guess
trying.
update me on how your
I
reading
will.
journey is going.
There's so many books I wanna read. I will. I'll give it another try, and I'll demand that I can do it.
You know, I will say that there are a ton of books that I would like to read, and I don't read at all. It's because I don't have the desire or the mindset to read right now. Like there are other things that I would rather be doing, and that's why I don't make time for reading.
Same. I mean, there's so many things I gotta do throughout the day. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be hard on yourself. Like don't try to like read a novel. But like
True.
start with like a paragraph
Oh,
of
for sure.
something.
For sure.
And try to just understand that paragraph, and then the next time do 2 paragraphs. Just start
I like it.
small, I would
I'll do
say.
it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. So we have about 15 minutes here.
Okay.
So what do you talk about on your podcast? Can you give me the rundown and the information on what you have going on?
So I tell, it's called Frequencies, and it's tuning into frequencies of human behavior, perspective, and empathy. And really, I just kind of share my perspective on just a lot of different scenarios that we all see. Sometimes we all have problems with. I did an episode about the whole Epstein shenanigans, and it's really that one is just kind of painting 3 different hypotheticals to try to kind of capture from a different angle. I talk about the shroud of anonymity in our first episode, which is, just a giant problem that people really don't think about. How people online and people driving in their cars, when we're in our cars and when we're online, we act totally different. Why is that? It's because anonymity. When we have these keyboards and, we've got that shroud to hide behind, where empathy drops and we totally act different. The latest episode was about consciousness, and that released on this Tuesday, the Cinco de Mayo. And I did another episode kind of in that realm, and it's the magic of music and frequencies, which talked about binaural beats. I talked about my history with music, and I've got a couple secret powers related to music, if you will. Not really, but once I got sober, I realized, like, I'm a crier. I went to a concert sober after 2020, went to 2 of them, actually, big ones. And because I was kind of nervous about it, obviously. And then when I went, like, full blown, just full body emotion, started crying. And it was a good cry. It's not like I'm like an ugly cry or anything, but like, and I feel it was so cool. It's just a really cool emotion to be. I can't even control it. But I talk about that stuff. Talk about a lot of different things. I cover a lot of ground. I think I'm going to do the next 3 or 4 episodes are going to be about tackling specials on the different generations, starting with the silent generation, the boomers, Gen X, the millennials. I'm an elder millennial. I was born in '84. Maybe go to Gen Z. So kind of all over the place. But I like to talk about things that need to be addressed, and things we are all aware of, things we're all dealing with, and it's fun.
And you release episodes every Tuesday, you say?
Every Tuesday morning, new episodes release. Yeah.
Do you ever have guests on your show?
Not yet. I
I guess
really
it's kind of
want to.
new, right? You want to,
It is. I wanted to kind of get established, trying to
right?
get.
Right. Makes sense.
I've got a couple friends that would love to get on and start talking, and when it comes to this, I'm pretty OCD, so kind of making sure I've got a good line of dialogue ready, because I can go off once I start talking. I can get off subject real quick. So like those sessions would be they'd have to be kind of coached. So eventually, yes, I definitely want to have some guests on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been sober?
I got sober 2019, so I'm just over 6 years, 6.5 years.
I'm 2018.
Are you?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. 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 And I was born in 86.
Okay.
So I'm just a few years younger than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
29. I got sober right before the pandemic, and it's so weird just because, going into the pandemic, I was an alcoholic, and the world was totally different.
Totally
And
different.
as I've recovered, like the world, it's a totally different world. So like my sober perception of how this world is, I can't really rewind time and look at how it was pre-pandemic, because it's totally different. It's so strange.
I would agree. I got sober in 2018, and I can't tell you how thankful I am that I gained awareness before COVID and before all of that happened.
I was a home drinker.
Yeah, like I feel like it was all like just perfect alignment with timing and what happened in my life, and my awakening and getting sober. And I'm so thankful that it happened before.
I was a home drinker, like, and that craze that was happening in 2020, where people were working from home and like drinking in pajamas and all that shit.
Yeah,
I would have fit right in. That was my bread and butter. I was like an expert level home. I didn't like going to the bars. I liked drinking at home and like hanging out.
Okay.
So I don't know if I would have made it through. Just because everybody else is doing it now it's totally justified that I do it. So
yeah,
when I did.
I actually haven't had any alcohol since I was like 26, and I'm 39.
Awesome.
Yeah. So when I would say was an addict, I was an addict of different things, different substances. I didn't drink even at the time when I was an addict. So I don't have the perspective to share with you of an alcoholic, although my family, my mom and my dad, were both alcoholics.
Same. My father
intermittently.
was alcoholic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my dad's not anymore, but intermittently.
Good. That's excellent.
Yeah.
And my father was an alcoholic. Both my grandfathers never met. They died alcoholics. Like I knew before I started drinking that I shouldn't, but I naturally just kind of kept going, and it just kind of escalated, and realized, luckily nothing bad happened. I kind of recognized it before it got too bad. I was a functioning alcoholic in a way. So
I feel like
very grateful.
I feel like there's less alcoholics out there today. Like it's
alcohol
less popular.
Alcohol has significantly decreased, and I think marijuana has a lot to do with it. And I'm okay with it. I am. Marijuana is. I dabbled after I got sober. I did dabble a little bit. Hell, I was a giant pothead back in the day, and I feel like that's where my masking started. That's why it totally got missed when I was in high school and stuff. I was smoking every day, so, and that was helping me. I mean, it helped me get through the day. I didn't realize it. I just thought I was a pothead, So
yeah.
But since getting sober, I have dabbled with it again and realized, I don't do it anymore, just because I liked having a clear mind. So I'm not on any meds, no booze, no weed, no nothing. So it's
good job.
Raw dogging this shit.
Good job.
Thank you.
I still use THC. I have my medical license.
Good for you. Yeah.
It actually It actually is what helped me get sober off of the heavy stuff, because I
A lot
never
of people are doing it now.
I never used it at all until I used it to get off the other stuff.
It's excellent. Good for you.
So yeah. So
Nothing
it's
wrong with it
good.
at all. I think it's
Yeah.
a good little I think it's healthy. It's hard to get lost in it, but I guess you could lose control of it, but um I
Yeah.
think it's safe, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, we're rounding out. What time is it? We got 10 more minutes. Want to chat for 10 more minutes?
Sure.
What do you have, family? Do you have a wife or kids or
Girlfriend, I'm divorced. I had 2
Oh,
kids. I've got 2 kids, a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, which has been fun.
2013?
Yeah,
Are they with you? You have a girlfriend,
I
so they're not.
they're no, I only get them I get them every other weekend, unfortunately, but they're mom's good. They're in a good school district over at mom's, and we got a good relationship. So, I didn't want to make their lives more stressful with the back and forth and back and forth. I'm not too far from them, but they're doing really good. Son's driving, which was terrifying. That was a fun little experience to teach my boy how to drive.
Yeah, I have a son.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him or talked to him in like five years.
really.
Yeah. I used to be an addict, as you know. I
Yeah.
told you I've been sober since 2018, and I had him before I was an addict, and lost custody while I was an addict. Got sober, tried to come back into his life. I went through this court program that was 2 years long. I had to go to court every single month and like take their random
Mhm.
urinary analysis tests and
Yeah.
go to these programs and do all this stuff. And I went through all this process. And my ex-husband had to sign a contract. We both had to sign a contract to enter into this program. So he didn't want to be there the whole time. He had to go to all the appointments and everything too. He didn't want to actually be there.
Mhm.
But at the end, I was awarded like 45% custody. I had him like 4 nights out of the week, or
Nice.
I had him like almost half the time.
Mhm.
From no custody to almost half the time, and that's what I was awarded. So
Right.
the first time that he ever came over to my house, to have the first night after the contract was up and the papers were pushed out, he told me, "Mom, I don't want to ever come back here. I want to leave, and I don't want to ever come back here." Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
How
And
old is he?
yeah. How
How
old
old
was
is he?
he? Well,
Yeah.
now he's going to be 17 in October.
Mhm.
This was 5 years ago. So 12. He was 11 actually. So it was like 6 years ago. I
Oh,
think he was
man.
11 when this happened. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I had just went through 2 years of like fighting with my ex-husband and his new wife.
Mhm.
He had a new wife and she had kids, and they had this like perfect little family, and they didn't want me to be a part of it. So I understand.
I'm sorry.
I understand when you say, you stepped back so that you didn't have to like, because that's what I had to do. I had to just say, fine, I'll step back. Like, you can have it your way. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did for the betterment of his experience in life.
I didn't want to stress my kids out. Just if they were here 3 nights a week during the week, they'd have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get them to school when, just it's an additional layer of stress that I didn't want to put on them.
Right.
Just to and from school and taken away from, homework time and dinner time. Like by the time they come over, like there's little time to do anything. So, I didn't want to put that stress on them. So I could essentially go see it if I want to go take them out to dinner or something. I can, and at this point, they're kind of ready to make their own social lives and make friends, and they don't want to have anything to do with me anyway. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. They're at that age, so that
Well,
alone has been kind of tough.
I actually don't know how kids are at that age because I haven't had any. Like, I literally haven't seen or talked to my son. Haven't seen a picture of him. Haven't heard a word from him in like
You gonna
since that
try?
day. I text him every holiday, every
Good,
birthday.
good.
For the past 5-6 years, I haven't missed one. And he reads the messages. He's had the same phone number and he
Mhm.
reads the messages. But I've never gotten a return message back from him.
Does that bother you?
Not at all. I don't hold any resentments towards him or the
That's good.
situation whatsoever. If
Right.
he decides to come in my life one day, then we can talk about something different,
That's big of you.
something new and something present, instead of the past.
Yeah, working on new. That's awesome. That's
Yeah, absolutely. And I I wouldn't be as healed and where I am today if I had him all this time.
yeah, I believe
So
it.
I really feel like it happened for the both of us, for the better development of the both of us. It needed to happen. So we
When
could
he's
each.
ready, he'll come back around.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know if I don't know if he watches my content. Like I had somebody follow me one day that was his name. His first name and my last name, not his dad's last name. So that's kind of like what made me wonder, So I'm not sure if he actually follows me or watches my content.
That's good. You don't talk about anything bad, so
No. Yeah.
that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's fine. It was fun talk. Very good talk.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. 1 second.